Hello fam, welcome back to another interesting tutorial. Today we are going to be learning how to cut and sew a skirt, though it's actually for a gown, but we're going to be concentrating on the skirt part today. So if you don't know how to make a basic skirt, a basic pencil skirt block, we're going to be learning that today. First off, I want to say a very big thank you to everyone that engages on my post. I see the likes, I see the comments, subscription. It's very encouraging. Thank you so much. God bless you. Okay, back to the video. You'll be needing your waist, hip, and full length measurements. Your waist and hip divided by 4 plus 2 inches seam allowance. And then the waist, we are going to be adding 1 inch for that. You can see it right there. So I'm going to do a comprehensive video on body measurements later. Then you can understand how to get these measurements from a person. But if you have your measurements already, you can work with it. So the biggest measurement between the waist and the hip, because those are the circumference measurements which I'll teach later, is the hip. So that hip is what you are going to fold your fabric. The measurement I just showed now is the full gown measurement. So we are working with waist 30 instead of 31, because 31 is for skirt measurement depending on where you want the skirt to start from. So we are working with hip 40 and half, and hip 40 and half divided by 4 is giving us 10 points. You're going to see it in the video. So after dividing, you are going to be adding your 2 inches seam allowance. That's what you use to fold your fabric. But I didn't fold my fabric with exactly that measurement because I'm trying to follow the pattern of the fabric. You can see that my Ankara fabric has a very beautiful pattern, and I want the flower pattern to come out just right at the center. So when you are working with a fabric, you also check the pattern of the fabric so that you can have a beautiful design at the end and not just sewing all in the name of sewing. So this is my hip, which I said 10.2 plus 2 inches seam allowance, which is giving us 12.2. So I'm just marking it out. Normally I don't waste fabric at all, but because I said we are trying to get a design, want a pattern that is on the fabric to come out just right in the center of the clothes. So that's why we are going to be wasting. You can see that little pattern, that little fabric on the other side. That place now will go off. After you must have gotten your biggest measurement, you know, what you use to fold. The next thing you go for is your length. So the first thing you do is to fold your fabric with your biggest measurement. Afterwards, you go for your length, and our length is 17, half length is 17, and the full length is 39. So we are going to be removing the 17 from the 39, which is going to give us 22. Remember, we said this is a gown that I'm making, but if it's a skirt, you just proceed with your tape from number 1 to 22. So but because it's a gown, I'll just remove my 17 on the line which I want to remove it from. I will not start from the beginning of the fabric because of this label, that's print there. You don't want to make your work tacky. So I'm going to just measure from 17 down to 39. I would have easily used the selvage of my fabric for my hem point, but that would ruin my fabric, my pattern design that I'm trying to get. So we'll be using here for the waist, we'll be using the selvage area for the waist, and the middle part of the material for our hem point. Okay, so we are just getting out our length, that is 39. We are marking it out, making sure that the line is straight. So that is 39. After you must have gotten your length, you add your measurement for your turn up. You're going to see the turn up properly. So I just added 3 inches for my turn up. That 3 inches is to turn in the fabric inside. When you are going to be joining your lining, you use the fabric to turn it inside, and also for the joining on the waist area. Remember, I'll be joining this half length to the upper part of my gown, so I'll be needing 1/2 inch from that turn up. But even if it's just a normal skirt, you want to add your band, you may not need to add 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to turn it in to get my measurements. For my hip line, I'm going to be using 10 inches from the half length down. That's my hip line. And for the knee line, 10 inches down from the knee hip line. That is my knee line. That is 20 inches from the half length down. For the knee line, 10 inches down from the half length is the hip line. Is our 7.5 plus our 2 inches for seam allowance, and then our 1 inch for that. That's making it 10.5 inches. Then on our waist and our hip, although we already used the hip to fold, so the hip is 12 points. Then we come down to our knee. On the knee, we're removing 1.5 on the knee from whatever that is on the hip. That's 1.5. So we are connecting to you. Now you need to watch how this connection is done. You don't connect direct to the hip. Probably you can come down, say by 2.5, and go by 2.5. But don't connect direct to the hip. So in a smooth transition, you connect, and also you sketch and connect. Now this is for our darts. When I finish tracing the back, I will remove these darts. Removing the darts because I don't usually add darts to the front of my skirt. So this is the 2.5 inches that we came down with and went up with. So we proceed to the back. You fold your fabric the way you want the pattern to be and make the back to be bigger than the front with 1.5 inch or 2 inches zipper allowance. So that's what I'm just making sure of. And after tracing it out, you remove 1/2 inch on the hem area. Remove 1/2 inch on the hem area in the zipper part. This is to give the bum a very nice curve at the back. After doing this, that 1/2 inch you removed, you're going to bring it back on the other side. You're going to see it in the video. This 1/2 inch you removed here, you bring it back on the other side. You are connecting from the hem point to the hip line in a curved manner. Now you bring back that 1/2 inch here so that your clothes can tally, the front and back can tally, because if you short something at the back and you don't add it back, it's going to make the clothes short. I don't know if I'm making sense, if you understand what I'm saying. This is just to give the back a very nice curvy shape at the bum area. You see, from the hip we curved it down to the turn up area, and so now we are cutting. One very important information I must not skip: please, when cutting your fabric, cut on the wrong side of the fabric, not the right side, please. Okay, I just notched the zipper allowance, and I'm also notching my turn up. You must notch it so you can know where your lining is starting from and where your zip is starting from. So I'm also cutting out my darts, the 1 inch dart on the front. Slit open your zipper, and that is it, so you can see it properly. Okay, we move over to the band. This fabric, remember the cutout fabric that we had in the beginning? That's what we are going to be using for our band. So unfold, you measure. I think we have 2 inches unfold, and the waist is 30 inches. We can add 3 inches or 4 inches for your allowance. So we'll be using this gum stay to pad it, to laminate the fabric so that it can have a good structure for the waist. You can even double it so that when you wear the skirt, the waist area is going to sit firmly on the waist. Normally, you should finish sewing the skirt, then measure the circumference of the waist before cutting this. But I'm just showing you how to do it now. Okay, we'll move over to the lining. You fold your lining with the front part of the skirt, and make sure you set it right. Now, one tricky thing about it is the lining will sit on the turn up with 1 inch. Please ensure that after which you cut, and same with the back. So we proceed to sewing. You sew your hem points, the turn up. This is where you see what I've been talking about, the whole turn up, turn up, turn up. You're going to sew the hem points with the lining. After joining it, you see how it's going to come out. I'm sewing one side seam, and this is the other side seam. You watch, I started from the notched part and down to the waist. So here I'm just sewing that, making sure that I sew it well, everything is balanced, everything is equal. And I'm flipping it over now, and you can see how it's already coming out, how it's already looking. So we've closed the two sides seam, and we are just turning it out, making sure it's well turned out. You can already see how it's looking. Okay, so this is the back. What I did at the front is the same thing I'm going to do at the back. The only difference is that the back has an opening on the zipper area. So you can see the part that has that notch, that is where I'm join the base, the hem points, join it with the lining. After joining it, we proceed to join the two sides. Join the side seam, following the dart. Make sure you follow following the notch. Make sure you follow your notch. Make sure everything is aligning properly from the notched point to the waist. Make sure everything is aligning properly, and you join on the two sides. Just do a neat work. Make sure the ankara and the lining is on the same line. It is on the same line, very important, so that your work will actually come out fine. And here I am flipping the back. Quick one, if joining the lining and the ankara is going to be an issue, please use pins. If you know you're not going to be able to sew them correctly, like the ankara and the lining on the same line, you can easily use pins. Just use pins to secure them, because you need to make sure that everything is correct. If it is not correct, the material, the sewing, everything is ruined. So I'm just giving it a very good press. After sewing, you iron. You see my turn up, see how it's already looking. Make sure you bring out everything and iron properly, because a beautiful dress, beautiful gown, beautiful whatever is a well ironed clothes. Yes, your measurements must be correct, but you iron properly too. Okay, now we are taking out our zipper line, because we want to get our darts. We are taking out our zipper line. So after joining, what I have is 1 inch. I just follow my notch. That's why it's very good to notch down your zipper. So I followed my notch and marked it down using my iron to press it down, so that when I want to sew, it will not be difficult for me. I will just know where I'm going to sew. So that is what I'm doing. I'm pressing it down. Afterwards, I'll be getting my darts. My darts for this measurement, I'm using 4 inches from my zip line 4 inches from my zip line, and 5.5 inch down. I'm using 5.5 inch because it's a gown. I'm going to be joining it to the upper bodice, so I needed that to come down well. So I just notched the dart area, and I'm also marking it out so that you can see how it is. If you don't understand, pause the video and watch it again so you can understand. I really didn't want this video to be too long. Okay, for here, your sewing is starting from 2 inches below your dart. Please, your sewing is going to start from 2 inches below your dart, and then your slits, for your back slits, depending on how high you want it to be. For me, I just wanted it to be at 33, and that is what it is. You can come down more if you don't want it to be too high. So that is for your back slits, and you're just going to run a stitch from the 8 inches down to the 16 inches, and that is what I am doing. And after you are done with that, make sure you secure the stitch multiple times so that when you move, it won't rip apart. Okay, now I'm just going to pick my dart. You see how I picked it? I made sure to pick the material just 1/2 inch. I'm going to bring the camera closer so you can see what I am doing. Just 1/2 inch from the material. That is what I'm picking. That's what I will sew down from the waistline down to my 5.5 inches. Just watch carefully. Please make sure your dart is straight. Make sure the waist, when you fold your clothes, that the waist is aligning with each other. If it is bent, then it is not straight. After sewing your dart, you'll find out that your dart is bent to one side. And these things are very, very important. These little details are what makes your clothes exceptional. So after doing that, I'm going to sew on my slits. Yes, I just want to secure it, give it a another stitch, so that even while moving, I won't be scared that my skirt is going to rip apart. Okay, so I'm just going to double stitch it down and stitch it very, very well. All this is just to secure the skirt, so after doing that, I'm just going to take it back to my pressing table and iron properly. Make sure that everything is well ironed, everything is nice and good. Sewing is actually fun if you love sewing. This is a very easy process, a very, very easy and seamless process. If you know how to handle the machine, if you know how to use the machine, why not give it a try? I mean, make a skirt today. So after giving it a very good press, I'll just take it back to the sewing machine, and I'm going to use my pins to close down my zipper area, because now I want to shape my skirts. So I'm just using my pins to hold down my zipper area so I can get the right measurements to shape. Remember that when we wanted to sew, we divided the clothes by we divided the measurements by 4 inches, and that's what we are still going to do here. So I'm just pinning my clothes basically, so that when shaping, I won't have issues with the material. Okay, and also we are going to need the line on the center part. This is because we need to be sure that whatever we are doing, we have the same thing on the both sides. Now you see that my clothes is equal. you can see what I am doing. This is the line I was talking about. So we just make sure we have the right line. On the waist is 30 divided by 4 gave us 7.5, and divided by 2 is 15. So we are going to make sure we have 7.5 on the left side and 7.5 on the right side. That is 15 in total. Okay, and when you check 15 at the front, 15 at the back, that is 30. That's the whole circumference of the clothes. Then we'll come down to our hip line, which is 30, where the hip is going to sit, the biggest part of the bum. 40.5 divided by 2 divided by 2 again, which is giving us 10.2. And we place our tape on that line also, mark 20 on this side, and also mark 1 inch on the other side. And on the knee, we are going to take whatsoever allowance we have left on our hip. That's what we're going to mark out, which is 1.2. That 1.2 we removed initially while cutting. That is what we are still going to remove. So we are just going to mark it out, and we're going to use the chalk to give it a broken line so that we can follow that guide to sew. This is just to be sure that, okay, this is the line I am using, I'm following to sew, so that the sewing will be neat and proper. So that is just all what I am doing here, and our beautiful skirt is ready, almost ready. So for the zipper, I'm going to post a video on how to properly fix your zipper. I'm just ironing the skirt, opening all the seam lines, ironing it, making sure that the skirt is properly ironed. So this is me just opening the seam lines, folding it back, ironing it, giving it a beautiful iron, and here goes our skirt. Isn't it lovely? Isn't it beautiful? You can see the shape. The back shape is sitting properly. Everything is sitting properly. So that's our skirts. Okay, if you love this video, please give it a like, thumbs up, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Bye bye.